Hey, y'all. Hey, hey. I should be able to see the chat on here. How y'all doing? I think I might be a little delayed. We good? I got a doggy. I know. You're so unloved. All right, calm down. Calm down. Hey, guys, say hey when you get on. I got a doggy. Look how big she's gotten. Daisy. Daisy May. Y'all say give Daisy a big like. All right, now you gotta get down. She's so strong, you guys. And I hurt my back a couple days ago, so I am like, just breathing. It hurts. It hurts. So it's dark here. I've got the ceiling lights on. I've got, and I know something just happened. I'm sure it has to do with what's going on. I've got my desk light on. So I'm like, but yeah, it's really dark. It's been dark all day though. It's been cooler. Like it's only like, I want to say it was like 77. Hey, Aaron. Hey, sweet man. It's only like 77 out. So it's been cooler, but it's dark and overcast. And we did get a little rain earlier. And boy, our whole state's going to be covered soon. And that hurricane's coming right past us. So that's going to be very interesting as of what has happened. Look at this is Daisy. Oh my goodness, Lordy. So I moved here. Now, Locum Dads was born and raised in Central Florida. I moved here when I was just 1978. So in 79 was the first hurricane I remember, and it was David. And I remember being at my aunt and uncle's house. And of course, I'm 9 and I might have just turned 10. And I just remember them talking about the eyes coming right over us. And all I can picture is my aunt and uncle had this huge window in their dining room. It took up almost the entire wall. And as a little kid, it was probably even bigger. And I just remember them talking about an eye coming over the house. And all I could picture is this big old eye coming by and winking at me as it goes by. And I was just like, oh my goodness, a big eye's coming over the house. And so that's my first memory of a hurricane. And I think it ended up being diverted and it didn't come directly over us. So that was pretty interesting. But hurricanes have been something Locum Dad's always been interested in. He loves like storms, tornadoes. He should have been a meteorologist. He loves chasing storms. And with our business, we do water damage restoration. So if a home offers a building floods, we dry it. So imagine what it's like in hurricane season. It's crazy because we're trying to get all the work done and take care of everything. And it's a lot. And he used to actually, when he was younger and very first started out in it and didn't have our own business, he was working for someone else. He would go chase hurricanes with them. And when I say chase hurricanes, the hurricane was going to hit the Outer Banks. They'd all carpool with all their equipment and everything to the Outer Banks and work. And so he has literally been to Texas. I want to say Mississippi. He's going to correct me with that. Outer Banks, of course, all along the Florida coast, Panhandle. I mean, he's just been Alabama, Orange Beach, Alabama. He spent a whole month or two there. Been absolutely everywhere chasing hurricanes. And most of it's been with other people, although I think he did the Panhandle or Orange Beach all by himself. It's just been something. And, we've went everywhere from boarding up our house to just bringing all the lawn stuff in. We ourselves flooded with Irma 3 years ago. We never had a problem before, and it was just too much water too fast, and it ended up flooding we have a living basement. Yes, in Florida. And it didn't help that the neighbors in the back, we had found out because we hired someone with a drone and they took it up and they had literally blocked off the wetlands. So as soon as they released the wetlands, unclogged it, their pond, they built a pond. we completely drained, but it took us 5 days for that to happen. We were also without power for 5 days through Irma, which was really hard because, we lost our whole fridge and freezer. Just about. I was able to take most things in the freezer and put it in the camper. So really we lost like all of our condiments and stuff like that. Because if you can imagine, y'all see the way I cook, I've got a lot of stuff in the fridge. I've got a lot of stuff in the freezer. So it was pretty heartbreaking. What was the most heartbreaking is the stuff you lose when, hey, Julie, is the things you lose when they're homemade, because then you throw them out and it's like, oh man. So that's probably the most heartbreaking part of it all. But during that one, because we did stay underwater so long to no fault of our own, we lost a lot. My daughter lost everything in her bedroom because her bedroom was the basement. We lost just tons of stuff in the garage, and it was just a mess. I mean, it literally it took weeks to clean up, but then a year or so to finally get everything rebuilt. And then in the meantime, so while we're flooded and we're trying to get answers from the state and the county and the city, and trying to get someone to help us get that pond unblocked, because it's on private property and no one would go on it, and the people that have the property don't live there full time. They just come and check on it, and we knew exactly what was causing it. But we did find out some other things through that, like the little city next to us had blocked a drain pipe with concrete when the 3 hurricanes came through, which was about 18 years ago or so. So we had 3 hurricanes hit six in together in a row. And that actually changed the hurricane deductible laws with the Florida also. It used to be whatever your deductible was is what you paid when a hurricane hit you. Well, because of the 3 and people were getting hit with 3 deductibles, they changed it to 2% of your home value. So for a lot of people, that can be a lot of money. And of course, if you're not in a flood zone, you're not required, nor do they suggest, they wouldn't let us get insurance. So that is considered a flood and not a insurable claim. So it was a mess. We had to have FEMA come out. But we finally got it taken care of. And I mean, you wouldn't know today, and it's built back better than it was. And it looks amazing. So that's where we have a TV down there. We have a couple of like sitting chairs. And then I have all of my Scentsy goodness down there. So I've been down today, even with my back hurting the way it is. And I cleaned up. Oh gosh, I got everything off shelves that were, and then I had to get everything off the floor. So I have the shelves, the bottom layer of the shelves. So we've got tables down there. We've got everything sitting up on it. The only thing Lock-Home Dad needs to do when he gets back is we bought some bed risers. So like the entertainment center and the chest, the coffee bar, they'll all go on bed risers so that, the wood doesn't get ruined or whatever. And not to say, because we never had an issue. So not to say that we might flood or not, but it's better to take, precautions. A lot of people are trimming out some trees. Of course, pick up your patio furniture. We've got, Lock-Home Dad's got most of the stuff from the garage out that could get damaged, if the garage were to flood. So our porch is full of stuff. You just got to make sure everything is secure. Patio furniture, a lot of people will throw it in their swimming pools just in case, then that's a safe place and they can just get it back out of the swimming pools. We'll probably shut up the chicken doors and everything. They might even stay in there until all this is over with, because it's not good for them to be out in that wet sand anyway. So I think he's just got a few little things to finish up. But as of right now, I just looked, they update it every 3 hours, and I think they'll do it a little closer together as we get closer. Right now, it's set to hit as a category 1, and it is set to come straight over Central Florida. I mean, the whole thing will encompass Central Florida. So we will, at the very least, get a ton of rain. I'm sure we'll have a lot of debris from the trees. It's just going to be a mess because we have a lot of trees on the property. So it'll be a mess for a lot of people, and it'll be a lot of cleanup for a long time. And then, of course, Lock-Home Dad will be, busy. When Irma hit in 2019, we were working like 20 hours a day. And then I was on the phone in between trying to figure out about our own home. So we were out working, and I literally had a notepad, and I was listing everyone and told them, if If we get anything, I'll let you know. I can put you on the list. We'll give you a call. And the problem wasn't that we couldn't get out and like take care of the extraction, but there was no equipment to be found. So that was really difficult too. So, you extract water, you still have to dry the structure and air movers and dehumidifiers and all that. So Lacombe Dad's got all that stuff ready to go. He's super excited about having that ready. And so it'll be ready. We got the trailer and he'll just have to pull out. We ended up living in the camper for those 5 days until electric came back on because it's too hot. And we would turn on that. We had a generator that at night we'd turn it on and have cool air to sleep at least. And of course, and everything was everything was closed. And if they weren't closed, they didn't have stuff, like I made coffee. We have, with Scentsy, we have these little things. I don't have one with me, but it's called Scentsy Go, and it's portable, rechargeable, but it has a light on it. So it smells good, but it has a nice bright light on it. So I'm in the camper with that sitting on the counter on my bright light because the charge holds for oh my goodness, 20 something hours. And so I would have that on. And then I had the big 32 ounce stainless steel coffee mugs, and I'd put a filter over it with coffee in it, and I'd heat water with the tea kettle on the stove. See, I'm glad I have all this stuff still. Tea kettle on the stove, and then I would just I'd hold the filter and let it pour through, and that's how we got our coffees in the morning. Then, we're dragging, so we try to find coffee somewhere, and you just couldn't. The supplies weren't getting through, or they were out of power. A lot of places were closed. You just couldn't get anything like that. And I'll remember it was like the third or fourth day, we stopped and got lunch at Wawa. And I forget I think I had a salad, some kind of salad. And then I just remember they didn't have any plasticware. And I'm like, so what am I supposed to do now? Eat it and I ended up having to eat it with my fingers. It was like, oh my gosh. So I know first world problems, but it was just still super weird. There was no plasticware. And they didn't tell us that until and I go back in to get it. And it's like, oh, we don't have any. We got a sandwich or something. And so it was some long, hard days. I was beat up. Lacombe Dad was exhausted. And we were trying to get to everyone. And people are angry on the phone, and it's the only time we've really encountered people calling and being super angry. And we even had a lady call through Angie's List, and it was 10:30 at night. And I told her, I said, ma'am, we just cannot get to you. We are working hard. We're exhausted. So we just got in tonight. And she got so mad at me that she hung up and went and left us a bad review on Angie's List. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do this? We can't, we physically can't. And so I had to write a rebuttal to it and everything. And I'm just like, are you seriously because we can't come out and, do your home, and here mine is flooded, and it's funny because people be like, I had a little water come in through the patio door and it's in about a foot or two. And I said, ma'am, my whole downstairs is sitting 3 feet in water. I am so sorry, but we're not going to be able to get to you for a hot minute. So if you still have an issue in about 5 days, please give me a call back and I'll be happy to help you. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, don't worry about that little foot of water. Go get your fan put on it and then call us to come in, later. Cause it is just insane the amount of equipment. We had one client that they just happened to be downstairs and the kids' playroom was upstairs and they're all watching TV and they heard a noise. And this big old tree came through the roof upstairs. And it demolished their whole house. Nobody was hurt, but thank goodness the kids weren't upstairs watching TV or playing or something. It would have been awful. But it really destroyed their house. And I don't know how that ended up working out, but we pumped water, we sucked water, we put equipment in like crazy. It was just insane. And then Lacombe Dad has done runs where when he was younger, and I'm sure this is pretty exciting to him, he did runs where he went to the Outer Banks one time. Well, they weren't letting people, if you weren't a resident, get through. Well, somehow they talked them into letting them get through since they're an emergency response. And so they made it through. And the other guys have rented a minivan, I think, for them all to ride up in, and a wave come in and took the minivan out. So if I remember that correctly, that's what happened. And they were up there for quite some time helping with that. And it was super sad because a lot of those homes might not be their regular homes. It might be their vacation homes, but they still have a lot of family mementos. And the first layer, many of them were gone or down to just their studs and stuff. And people were there walking the beaches trying to find anything that would be their personal property. So I could, I imagine it's very devastating. Even if it's a second home, it's got to be very devastating. And then, you've got to worry about tornadoes, the flooding. There's just all these other things that can spark off of a hurricane. And, it gets exciting because it's like, oh, what's going to happen next? But then it's very scary too, because it's like, I don't know when the power is going to go out. Then when Irma hit 3 years ago, yeah, we literally we could hear transformers popping, and we would think that's got to be ours. It sounded so close. It's got to be ours. It sounded so close. And then finally ours went. And we cooked off of a little we had a gas stove I'd take outside and cook for everybody. And we had, of course, our camper, which was really nice that we had that. I don't remember us filling the bathtub. It's a real good idea to fill your bathtub just at the very least so you can flush the toilets. And if you have any big bottles, go ahead and fill them up. I'm going to have Log Home Dad, when he gets home, go out and get the rest of my bottles from the camper, because we carry big bottles anyway for coffee, ice maker, things like that. And so I must have 15 or so underneath in their spare room in the camper. So I'll have him bring the ones in that are empty from our last trip so that I can fill them up and we can be ready to go on water if we were to go without. And but I mean, it's uncomfortable and everybody gets through it. It's frustrating time, and everybody's pretty, most people are pretty real frazzled. They don't know what to do. It's an emergency. They've never been through anything like this before. And I imagine a lot of people, this will be their first time experiencing anything like this, because it's, they've moved here through the pandemic and we've not really had anything now for 3 years. So this will be not here in Central Florida or Florida. So this will be pretty eye-opening for them to have to go through it. And of course, the store shelves are bare. All the waters are gone, and you're sitting here going, y'all don't drink water. What are you doing buying all the water up? All the water's gone. It never fails. But the one thing that's always left is clam chowder on the shelves. It's so funny. I think it was the last time it came through. It was, we were supposed to get one and it never hit us. And we went to the store. I mean, the shelves were bare, and there's like some clam chowder or something on the shelf, and the Raymond shrimp flavored noodles. So I'm just like, oh my goodness, it's going to be quite something, because like I said, we haven't had one in a hot minute. And, a lot of people get really worked up. Of course, that's all the news will be covering right now. And of course, it can always change past. It could go further west, further east, further south, further north, so you never know. I mean, we've had them heading right for us and then end up in Alabama or, Louisiana, or even Texas. I mean, you just never know. And sometimes they can and this one is showing it's going across the state, so they can go across and go back up and hit the coast, the East Coast. So anything can happen. And we never count on it until it gets a couple of days out. So now that we're watching everything, it's like, uh-oh, it's getting close. I don't know. Can y'all hear me? Can everybody else hear me? Oh, I sure hope you can hear me. Oh my goodness. It says it's working. And of course, I don't typically do it this way. I'm on my computer and I don't typically. Yes, you can hear me. Okay. Thanks, Erin. I'm sorry, Miss Julie. Maybe turn it up a little and see. Mine's up. It says on my end, everything's working. It's way different doing this whole live on the computer than it is on my phone. And I will be on my phone tomorrow. I got to figure out how to do it from the phone. It's just way different, and I might not be able to interact. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I'll probably go live a couple of times just so you guys can see what's going on and how the weather is, because it can get pretty icky. And we needed some. This is so Log Home Dad. We needed some pea rock, like the little river rock. We needed some of that little Daisy, she's not so little anymore. When you go out our door, if you go to the left, it goes out to the chicken coop. You go to the right, it goes around the side of the house back to our shop and our camper. And Daisy, where she goes running for her dada, we call him dada. She goes running out there and she's created a little dirt path. So we need to make a little path just for Daisy May. And Log Home Dad, instead of doing sandbags, he went and got bags of pea gravel, and it's our whole out front is lined up with them. And so that should work really good. And we have like the sand bags, and we can take them to go fill them. But like from where I stand, there was a huge line to go fill them. And let's see what else we got going on here. Hey, Kim. Thank you. We appreciate it. We'll take any prayers and any thoughts. And like I said, I'll really try to keep you guys updated on what's going on, because it can get like, we never expected when Irma came to deal with what we ended up having to deal with. It was hard. It was so hard. You know, our own house flooded, and just knowing that we're losing everything while it's someone else's fault, really. And we can't get a hold of them to unclog the pond. From now on, if that were to ever happen again, we'll stink and go over there and unclog it. Let them call the police. I don't even care, because I'll go do it. I'll go get me. They literally took our wetlands and they dammed them, which you're not supposed to do. Wetlands are supposed to be protected, but no one would take accountability for it. The state wouldn't take accountability. The environmental wouldn't take accountability. Orange County wouldn't take accountability. City of Orlando, nobody. We couldn't get anybody to take accountability. And we even afterwards thought about getting an attorney, but they wanted a minimum of a $10,000 retainer and said it could go up to $100,000. There was definitely a lawsuit, but who knows how long that would go on. And it wouldn't be just against one person, because after finding out about the neighbors, the city that is next to us that blocked off, and then I guess they were supposed to be they built a neighborhood across from ours, and there was supposed to be another retention pond that they never put in. And so, which caused an overload on this retention pond that this property drains off to. So it was a lot of factors going on. And it was, when we first bought the house, there's an aerial view and there was no wetness at all. When they took the drone up, it was like an acre lake. It's huge, huge. And they have ducks in it. They have all this stuff. And it's like, and they're not even licensed with like the Department of Agriculture, nothing, but nobody wanted to do anything. No one wanted to help us. And so nothing was ever done about it. Nothing. It was pretty devastating. And it was hard. It's hard as you're going through it and then like not getting any help. We did have a commissioner. It was so funny. We have a gate and it's closed, and you know, you have to have a code or it has to be buzzed in. And, I'm standing in my kitchen cleaning, and I look out and see this man out there, and his pants are rolled up and he has no shoes on, and he's trying to do something down. We have a French drain. So normally if rainwater comes, the French drain, it goes down into a French drain, and then it just pumps it out into the wetlands. And something had turned off or something. I guess he was out there trying to fix it. What was our commissioner? He literally came over here because I'm like, hey, what are you doing? You know, like he didn't even tell me he was here or nothing. And I figure out who he is. And he's the one that figured out what was going on, not just with the drain. He's like, I'll go over there. I don't care. But that the city had blocked off. There's a drainage hole that goes into the retention pond, which is, and it's really weird because that retention pond used to stay flooded. And we had wondered the last few years why it had not been flooded. Well, it's because the city had taken, is another city. We're in Orlando, and like right over here is another city. And they had taken that big pipe, Lachlan Dad would know what it's called, like a drain pipe that goes into the retention pond. It's a natural plane draining. And they literally took concrete and concreted half of it. So it was only working on half speed. And it was pretty bad. And then, like I said, trying to work during that. Oh, good, Miss Julie. Oregon. Oh, my goodness. Oh, Dawn, we're doing okay. We're just waiting for the storm. Like I said, it's super dark out. If I didn't have these lights on, we would be in the dark together. I mean, you wouldn't know it's just 6. It's it's pretty dark. So it's right now it's the calm before the storm. I think it's supposed to hit the coast around 2 a.m. And it depends on how fast it's going, if it slows down. I mean, there's a lot of factors to that. And it's supposed to hit as a category 4, and that's pretty severe. And it is the worst. They said it's the worst storm that's hit the west coast of Florida in over 50 years. So it's going to be pretty severe. We don't take them lightly. I mean, we know how bad they can be. And Log Dad's like a little boy, though. He's like watching the wind blowing and getting all excited and stuff. He loves weather related anything. Like I said, he would have been a tornado chaser if he had been able to go to school and do all that. He would have definitely been a meteorologist. And he loves weather, anything weather. He loves it. He thinks it's just great. Well, we will take the prayers, and thank you very much. For sure, all of Central Florida, all of Florida, it's actually going to encompass most of Florida. And it's always very nerve-wracking because you just don't know what the aftermath is going to be after it. You can take all the precautions you want, but then you don't know exactly what's going to happen. We didn't board up any windows or tape any windows or anything. We do have the basement we can go to if it gets really bad. You know, if a tornado sparks any tornado or anything, we can go down to our basement. So there's no windows down there at all. We'll take the doggies and go down there. We've of course got the campers, but I wouldn't ride it out in a camper. We'll be careful. You'd never know what's going to happen ever. And it could skip us and it could get the next house, or we've been places where it's done that too before, like there'll be one house standing on the street or half the house standing and others messed up. And the only thing that really worries me on our property is the big old trees and stuff we have. And pine trees are pretty resilient. They'll bend. As a matter of fact, if you come into Florida, down our interstate sometimes, and some of our properties, my property is no different, you'll see pine trees like permanently bent. And it's where we've had hurricanes come through, and it's just kept them at that stage for so long that they just kind of stayed there. But the big oak trees, most of them are pretty resilient too. It's just loose limbs and things like that I'm really worried about. It'll probably be a doggone mess when it's done. And then I dread Log Home Dad having to work those hours. Some days he was working 24 hours when the last hurricane came through. What did I do with my outside critters? So we just have the chickens, and we will take and close the windows and close up the coop really good. Log Home Dad really built that coop super sturdy. I mean, of course, anything can happen. But we'll just close everything up and just make sure they've got plenty of food and water in there, and they'll be fine inside the coop. I mean, there's only 3 of them now, so it's a pretty big area. The only other thing I don't really worry about anything right now. We've not got a lot planted and stuff. So my cabin pool of all the work we've already done to it. But I think the worst that would happen with that is a bunch of limbs and debris is going to fall in it. It'll be fine. And I'm not worried about that. But now the dogs have not been through a big storm yet. So I do worry about that because our Emma was so scared of thunderstorms. And so I do worry about them. But we do have the kennels, and we'll put them in the kennels if anything happens. Log Home Dad's home. Can you tell? Can you tell? There he is. And I know he's got a few things that he worked last night until, what time did you come up last night? 9:30 last night. So he worked pretty late last night. And, he's hurting right now. Daisy's wanting to love him. She's wanting to jump on you, isn't she? Oh, goodness. Poor guy's been working all day. He left early this morning. I hear you. Aw. I think I heard him crack a little.
My hips hurt.
Your hips hurt. Oh, bless us. You're not a young boy anymore, are you? You're not a youngin'.
I am not.
So, boy, it's going to be a rough few days. That is faux show. But we do have a lot of equipment, and this time we got way more than last time, and he'll be all set with all that. So we're not too worried about that. But it's a little scary. And I mean, like I said, we've been through some damage before, and more than anything is we've seen the damage. And even if you're prepared for it, it's still really heartbreaking to see it, and to see other people having to go through it. You've got people that, maybe they have an elderly person on oxygen or something in their house, and they've got to now make arrangements for that. Or, they might be bedridden. I mean, there's just so many things that can happen, and it's just so hard. Or maybe their whole house has been destroyed, and they've got to start all over again and don't know how they're going to start over again. Because let's face it, insurance will never cover what you lose or you need to do. And even then, you got to deal with the insurance company, which is a whole nother beast in itself. So it does get, I have a lot of empathy anytime anybody goes through something like that, because it is really hard. And hopefully FEMA will come in and take care. I know they've already declared a state of emergency, so that kind of gets the balls rolling. And I know we have, I forget how many thousand linemen Ron DeSantis already has ready to go. They are literally got the trucks lined up, ready to go wherever they need to go. And then other states always come and help too, which makes it's just amazing when that happens. But it is just, I mean, even with your insurance, if you do have trouble, just be patient, because they're literally dealing with low staff because of everything in the last couple of years. And then, so shortage of staff, and then, overwork too. I mean, they're going to be working really hard too. They really count on us restorers to provide them with a lot of information. And we happen to be one of those restorers that can show them photos and diagrams and everything. So it really helps the adjusters a lot when it comes to them writing everything up. But it is nerve wracking. And so when I hear someone complaining, when I've been without power for 2 days, or, the 2 feet into thing. And it's like, okay, some of your neighbors are sitting with 2 feet of water in their basements or in their bottom rooms, or a lot of people have like the sunken living rooms, or, there's a lot of variables with that. And it's just like, y'all got to have a little bit of empathy, because there's a lot worse going on right now than what you're having to deal with. And so it does get hard a little bit. And everybody thinks it's an emergency when it happens to them. But for the most part, most people are very understanding about it. And we just take it as it goes, because that's all we really can do. And then with ours, we'll just assess it tomorrow and see what we got going on. And I'm with the way it was last time, and this storm's worse, I'm not expecting great things. So we'll see if I get pleasantly surprised. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Well, thank you guys for the prayers. Oh, I know your fires there have been amazing. Oh, I just can't even get over it. Can't even get over the fires that's been going on. It's just awful. And I know a lot of y'all could use the rain. So when it hasn't stopped raining here for, goodness, 2 months, it feels like it's been raining every day, and sometimes all day. Typically, we get Florida afternoon showers. They start about June and usually go through September, and we'll get them in the afternoon. But man, it feels like some of our rains has been lasting all day long and pretty, heavy duty. So we have not lacked rains this summer. That is for sure. But we'll make it. We're not worried. We'll get there. Well, I'm going to let y'all go since Lachlan Dad is home. I need to feed him, because he is going to need a good night's sleep and a big belly, big full belly to get through what we got tomorrow. It's going to be something else. I know it. I'm sure our phones will start ringing first thing when the hurricane clears us. But I hope y'all have an amazing evening. And if you can think of us here in Florida, say some prayers for us. And some people have it a little bit, and some people have it a whole lot. A lot of lives are fixing to change. So it's always devastating when we have to deal with a natural disaster, because you don't know how it's going to be. Mother Nature is something else. Hang on tight. We sure will. All right, y'all. Well, you take care. Thanks for joining me. Bye, y'all.